more. I think, well, what I've found in working with Free and Equal Elections and being honored to connect and correspond with leaders of the drug movement, to the war, to the food, to the electoral, to guns. What I've learned is that even internationally, in Costa Rica, regarding guns, war, and how the Obama administration influences and bullies Costa Rica and a sovereign nation since the 60s, late 60s, and they're currently being bullied by the U.S. What I've learned from all these different organizations is that the problems derive simply from having the wrong politicians in office. It's that simple. Democrats and Republicans alike. And these politicians, and I've said it once, I'll say it many times again, are controlled by special interest money. And it's these politicians that have made these hurdles from ballot access restrictions to being a part of voter fraud issues, of black box voting, to making sure that debates are closed. Presidential candidates like Ralph Nader, Gary Johnson, Chuck Baldwin, and so on. So all these problems and uniting all these groups together, I commend Call Festival for bringing together Sheriff Matt to people from all these different industries, Larry Pratt, Gun Owners of America, Lew Rockwell, some great press, Josh Hawley, all these people, Tom Woods, Peter Schiff, to come together because we're here to help educate and to help resolve this problem that we've had that the system has created due to greed and money and special interests. And these are the kind of people that don't represent you and me, Bryan, and our listeners today.
They don't, and what saddens me more than anything, and I can probably venture out to say it pisses me off, is the amount of rampant apathy in this country, the very little that people pay attention and care about these problems. I mean, most of the people I know, the attitude is, oh yeah, our politicians are corrupt and bought off, but what can we do about it? That's kind of the attitude. They don't even think that they can do anything about it or care. That to them, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, whatever. It's a corrupt system, but that's what we have to deal with. What can we do? Some of them know that the debates are rigged, things like that, but they don't. They still participate. They still, watch the debates and then debate with their other people at their office or their friends and family. Like those are the only two people to talk about, the Republicans and Democrats. But most of them don't know that what's being done, how the system is rigged the way it is. And I think I would go out to say that most of the people that I know that are like this, they don't like it when I go into deep conversation about this. To them, it's like, there's crazy Bryan again talking about this or that. They don't really want to hear about it. That's what bothers me more, is you can point it out to them, and what they want to do is, I guess, keep it simple. When they try to talk about economics, their version of talking about economics is just listening to whatever politician promises to use the Treasury as a public trough, and that's as far as they go. They don't want to go into the details of how that might or might not work. Same thing with elections. They want to go to the polls and vote for the president, but they don't want to know about the Electoral College and how it's actually supposed to work. And so they want to scream foul when something happens like in 2000 with Al Gore and George Bush, thinking, George Bush stole the election, but then they still don't want to know about the Electoral College process. So it's quite sad to me how ignorant people are out there, but more how they don't mind being ignorant. They want to be ignorant. That's what bothers me more, I think.
Well, you can. I hope people can hear better on their end, so I'm going to try the headset here.
When you lifted it up like that, it was a little better. I don't know. You can't hold it like that all day long, but yeah, that was a little better.
Going in and out.
That's much better right there.
Okay, wonderful. Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And so the system, you're right, Bryan, in fact, is intentionally numbing. Sorry, a lot of kickback.
Yeah, you got echo and feedback. We'll get it worked out, everybody. It's a little bit.
But the system is intentionally numbing the people. Kickback. The system is essentially numbing the voters. The media, as we know, the money back in the Rockefeller days, a lot of it is jaded, misleads, intentionally numbs the people. The politicians in office, who have ties with some of the bad media. It goes on and on to, why do we have a drug war? Well, to get to the nit and gritty of it, the pharmaceutical industries, special interests, fund Democrats, even Republicans, whatever parties, and pharmaceutical industry, what I've learned from the vice president of Costa Rica and many other leaders, they essentially want to monopolize the marijuana industry, put it in a pill, and sell it for a lot of money, 5,000, who knows, ridiculously. It's all about money. The drug industry, the beer industry in California, when they tried to pass under, I think, Prop 19 for legalizing marijuana out there, the beer companies came out and were like, donated lots of money to try to stop and successfully stopped it. Worked with people like Jim Gray, Gary Johnson, and the Prop 19 team with Free and Equal to come out for it. Very obvious that from the pharmaceutical industry to the beer industry to the media, so many different entities that have intentionally numbed the people. And what we are doing here at Fall Festival is inspiring people to wake up, and I feel it coming. The system is aware it's coming, so be prepared. The two-party system is planning on becoming one, uniting as one under corporate America. So I could go in greater detail, Brian. In 2010, Prop 14, unfortunately, passed in California. It's called Top 2 Primary. It's the biggest threat to the electoral process throughout the United States. The hugest third parties and independents will cease to exist under Top 2. It's spreading across the nation. What it means is only the top 2 vote getters in the primary will be on the ballot for the general election for California. And now it has spread to Washington. They just put it on the ballot for Arizona and Colorado. Within 2 election cycles, all third parties will cease to exist in California. Green Party, Peace and Freedom, Constitution, Libertarian. The plan is for the two-party system to become one, corporate America, and over $5 million in funding pushed to pass this Prop 14 in California. So Free and Equal will be working with leaders throughout Arizona, California, Washington to try to stop this from spreading nationwide. If it does spread to all 50 states, we the people will no longer have any say towards our electoral process.
Yeah, somebody commented in the chat room and said that it's not that people are dumb or idiots, that the system's rigged, and I completely understand that the system's rigged. My point is that people are ignorant to, I think most people know or at least feel the system's rigged. They're ignorant to the fact that they can actually still do something about it, that, they've just become jaded to it, as you're pointing out. The system, the school system, all that has really jaded people to this, and that's, I think, where it really gets to me, where I get upset at. I want to take some of the people that I'm close to and kind of do that, smack them and say, wake up, stop sitting there watching TV all night and go do something about this. Stop complaining about it. Stop just welling it and shrugging it off and get involved and do something. And most people don't want to. There's just so large of a population out there that just find it so much easier to sit and watch local sitcoms after work every night than to get involved with anything. I think that's where I find the problem.
Yeah, I definitely do. You asked me about Ron Paul. Brian, what part got you into the Liberty movement? How long have you been involved in all this, and what inspired you to get so involved with groups like the Revolution March you did? That sounded very successful. I wish I was around and could have been a part of that. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. You're the one that found me for Fall Festival, so I'm still thankful for that. I wish I could have been there to help you guys in March as well, but can you tell us a little bit more about what you've done in your history? I know you're hosting, but our viewers would like to know more about you.
Well, sadly enough, I've been somewhat limited as much as I complain about other people. I got involved right around the end of 2007. I did the Revolution March. That was one of probably the biggest event up until now that I did or participated in. What really my family's always been an opinionated family, and we've always had people who debated politics a lot. And, a lot of people in my family, we get into some heated debates over issues. Some of it was, like abortion issue or death penalty issue or issues of that. Interesting enough, economics very rarely came up, and foreign policy very rarely came up in the debates in my family. So when I started hearing this guy Ron Paul talk about stuff I haven't heard before in my family debates or even in the news, that I watched back then. I mean, nobody talked about the Federal Reserve back then in the news. Even the shows that you would think would do it didn't really talk about it. So this guy Ron Paul started talking about these things that I never heard of. It really sparked my interest, and I really started getting interested. I started reading. I've always been a reader, but I started reading a lot more books as far as politics go. Started reading G. Edward Griffin, Thomas Woods Jr. I'm trying to think of the list of books. Ayn Rand. I read her book about capitalism. Things like that. Really started getting involved in that side of things, and that's where it really took off for me, as far as kind of losing that apathy and getting educated. So we did the march. After the march, there was somewhat of a burnout. Most of my involvement has been, the donations to the Paul campaign, the kind of spreading the word on the local level about Ron Paul. Briefly, I was involved in a meetup group in California to, try to do some stuff out there on the local level. And since then, I've really just been kind of the armchair general in the movement, sit in the forums and do my donations to different Liberty candidates, things like that. And then, of course, Paul Festival came up, and we all jumped on and kind of took the ball with that one. So my two biggest things right now would be the Revolution March and Paul Festival as it is. But as I said earlier, I really am trying to work with somebody, locate somebody here in my local area that would want to run for office, that would be a Liberty candidate, and get involved and help them make that happen, whether it be, city councilman or sheriff to state legislator. That is something I would like to work with after Paul Festival and get involved in.
Yeah, that's really cool. I definitely look forward to hearing more about those endeavors that you plan on working on. I know with Free and Equal, we already have it in the works to hold a huge panel discussion down in San Jose, Costa Rica next spring. 2013, different topics again on war, drugs, and electoral, and so on. Some great media, the pure media, we will invite them to come out there and be a part of it. And Bryan, yourself, and everybody with Paul Festival wholeheartedly would be honored to have you guys be a part of that as well. We need to start informing people, the voters, inspire people to run for office. And this is the premises of what Free and Equal is about. The organization is selfless. We want to build up and help build movements like fallfestival.org and a future Liberty Fest NYC, working with Gigi Bowman and Ian out there, and those true all-partisan grassroots movements, and creating that communication and that connection to bringing everybody together and helping to build up those organizations throughout the U.S. so people are informed, and creating our own media and working with the pure media that is out there. Even today, here on libertyset.com, what an awesome website to be a part of. So it's been, definitely excited to see what your future endeavors are for these legislative races. And the local races are key. Again, the state, the county, congressional, they are so key. As much as it would be great to have a presidential candidate like Ron Paul just slip in there, it's not going to work, unfortunately, under the two-party system. Inspiring these individuals to run for office will create the premises, the basis for a leader from bottom to top. Whether you're president, whether you're state, you should have a connection with the people. You should be working for the people. Your paycheck comes from the people. You should be working for the people, not for special interest money. So definitely super happy to hear you'll be working on those sort of races because they're so crucial. So crucial.
Yeah. I think it is. Dr. Paul has obviously stressed the importance of local involvement. He's obviously with the Campaign for Liberty got people involved on the precinct level where it should be at, and I think that's a really important thing as far as that goes. But switching gears just a little bit here real quick. Somebody asked me a little bit ago in the chat room about any media who is coming to Paul Festival, and I want to just address that question, make sure they know I wasn't ignoring them. Right now, we haven't had contact with like Fox News, CNN, or MSNBC. We've had local media in the area who wants to be part of this. RT America wants to come down and report on Paul Festival. I lost my thought here. Rawstory.com. They want to come down and report on Paul Festival. The Examiner and the Business Insider all want to come down and report on Paul Festival. So we do have media out there that wants to come down and be part of Paul Festival. And I think that's, it says a lot. I'm all for the independent media. I really don't care if Fox News and MSNBC or CNN come down there. It's not that important to me. I see that. No, not a problem. Go ahead and take that. So to answer your question about the media, I think this is going to be the modern Ron Paul thing. We're going to get it viral on the internet, just where it always has been with the Ron Paul movement. I mean, they marginalize Ron Paul. Why would they not marginalize us in our event? It's just to be expected.
But to respond on your media comment there, there's good media and there's lots of bad media. So the good media naturally is going to tag on to what we're doing. Hopefully a lot for Fall Festival, but even after that, even more so. My experience in the last year or two, I've personally traveled throughout the United States to 13 states, county by county, holding press conferences. And I've learned a lot. The media really talks and lets you know what's going on. And what's been happening this last year is the media has been consolidating quite a bit. It's actually quite scary. A lot of the independent media is being squeezed out. They don't have much money. The big media is combining together, ABC, CBS, so on. Sometimes 3 or 4 TV stations become one. I would call one media outlet, and they were all the media for the entire city, the entire town. I was flabbergasted by this. But still, every press conference we held, we had 100% success rate of media showing up, independent media, sometimes NPR. I couldn't believe it. And so my job was to educate the media, county by county, for 1 or 2 years, 13 states, about the jaded electoral system and special interests and all the stuff I've already covered. But, our biggest crisis here in the United States right now, Bryan, would you know what the #1 crisis, budgetary crisis in the United States? Yes, the media is not telling us. It's right. Government pensions. Government pensions are the #1 budgetary problem in the United States. So when we have issues like red light cameras coming up, wanting to be taxed more in Illinois, we had a huge income tax increase, 50, I can't even tell you the numbers, state income tax. Over 80% of this money goes to fund an unsustainable pension system. #1 budgetary problem in the United States throughout all 50 states. We can thank our politicians in office cutting deals with the union leadership. The rank and file members, I feel, have no representation. Their checks will stop coming. We know in California, they have recently filed for bankruptcy in one of the huge counties out there. I can't remember. In any case, Rhode Island as well, throughout the U.S. So if we don't reform the government pension system, checks will stop coming. People will be on the street. People who have been retired will no longer have anything. Their checks will stop coming, and that's horrible. And that's due, again, to the wrong Democrats and even Republicans in office allowing these laws to happen. And it's the people at federal level, the politicians, Democrats, Republicans alike, that benefit the most from this horrible pension system. And so while Free and Equal doesn't take a stance on pensions, we do recognize that from special interest money of union leadership to corporate, Democrats, Republicans alike, we are where we are today because of these politicians in office. We are economically where we are today because of the money that controls and influences these politicians in office. So I look forward to helping and working again with everybody to educate about the system and unite the experts on these topics as well.
Yeah, it was well put, and I mean, that's like you said. I mean, people just aren't being told this stuff. The media. I mean, there's too much focus on other stuff out there. The Jerry Sandusky trial and all this stuff that's kind of meaning. Well, the news obviously 24 hours can report on a lot of things, but they're not reporting on a lot of the important stuff, and that's one of the main issues there. Christina, I know you haven't had these problems with your mic and stuff in the past. Can we consider having you connect and reconnect and see if that fixes the connection here? Because you got a lot of great stuff you're talking about here, and I just know that your voice is coming in and out at times. So we want to make sure we get you clear so people can hear you.
Okay.
I'll bring you right back on. Just go ahead and disconnect and then come right back on, and we'll see if that clears it up. Sometimes it's just a connection issue. Okay, we'll get her back on. All right, I think we're supposed to be having T-Mont come on here, waiting for him to join as well. That will be cool. He's a very energetic person. I don't know if anybody out there knows T-Mont. If you don't, you will very soon. Waiting for him to come on. Trying to get that organized up there in the chat room while we wait for Christina to come back and T-Mont to come on. Remind everybody to go over to paulfestival.com and take part. This is a ticket drive, and with this ticket drive here, we are just doing a big push to get everybody down to Tampa, take part in Paul Festival, be part of all the events leading up to the RNC and then the RNC itself. We've organized great travel and lodging for everybody through all this. We've organized great performers, speakers, and musicians alike. And we've got more to come. We've got discounted ticket prices, so it is worthwhile to have everybody come out there and be part of this. Is that not correct, Gigi?
That's correct. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
And can you hear my daughter watching TV in the background and the phone ringing? And anyway, I'm here to give you relief. Get up, Bryan. Go get something to eat. My goodness.
Yeah. Well, why I take a quick break? Are you going to tell everybody about Liberty Candidates?
Yes, I will.
That's awesome. I'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you for the relief.
Okay. See you later. Go tell Ron Paul I said hi. I see him in the background there.
I sure will.
Okay. So I see you guys in the chat room. My friends, do I have enemies in there too? Because I always seem to have an enemy somewhere because I'm always yelling at everyone. Liberty candidates, we are going to be spoken for. Me, I'm always yelling. Mitt Romney, get out, get out. Anyway, before T-Mont comes